Salt Lake City. Welcome to Fresh Living.
Well, carving pumpkins is a Halloween staple, but use caution. Dr. Nance is here to share how we can avoid hand injuries during this festival activity. Welcome, Erin. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I want to talk about it being Halloween. What are some of the top tips that you have for us today for safety?
So the most injuries that I see are for when you're doing pumpkin carving. And unfortunately, we see a lot of lacerations and stabbing injuries. The very first tip that I can give people when setting up your area to do the pumpkin carving is to make sure you're doing it in a clean, well-lit area and that all of the tools are dried, your pumpkin is dry, and you place the pumpkin directly onto a cutting board.
Okay, that's a good tip. Speaking of which, I know kids might be tempted to join in, but should we leave the carving to adults?
So I know the kids are dying to help carve the pumpkin, but honestly, a laceration injury can happen in seconds, and I strongly suggest that only adults use the knives.
Okay, and let's talk about pumpkin carving kits, because you see those everywhere. Are those necessarily better than using a good old-fashioned kitchen knife, or which is safer?
So the kitchen knife or a steak knife will go in really easily at first. But what happens is because the pulp is very thick, you tend to struggle pulling it out, and that's when we see those laceration injuries. Also, the tip of the steak knife is very sharp, and sometimes you plunge through the pumpkin and you stab your hand that's holding the pumpkin in the back. These knives that are found from kits in Amazon and CVS, one, they're pretty dull. They're not going to injure you easily. The second is that the knife blade is actually serrated, which means if you were to have an accident, it wouldn't cut as deeply as if you were using a sharp knife. And then thirdly, the tip is usually blunt. So if you have that plunging accident, it won't cause as much damage as if you were using a sharp knife.
That's such an interesting point, because I feel like it's not what I would think. Most of us probably assume that the sharper the tool, that's better. And you're saying that's not true.
Exactly. For amateurs like you and me, these serrated knives are the way to go.
No, I'm not going to be winning any pumpkin carving contests anytime soon. What should we do if we are injured while carving a pumpkin?
So the first thing is to rinse off your hands, get all those pumpkin guts off. And then the third is to take either gauze or just a clean, dry washcloth and put direct pressure on the wound for about 15 to 20 minutes. If after 15 to 20 minutes you still have tingling in the finger or you're unable to bend or extend the finger, then you should go to the emergency room.
All right, all good advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Nance. It's been great having you on. And these are all good tips. You know, it being Halloween, everyone has to stay safe.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a happy Halloween, everyone.
You too. Thanks.